rushed when she needs to go into theater, and hizo tufanywe vitu zake. So what they requested me, since nobody knows kama akona cover ama hana cover ama nini, I was requested to deposit kama leave my car.
Oh wow.
You as the good Samaritan.
It's not even an amount. You want to leave your car.
Yes, collateral.
Lazima ulipe.
Gari yangu mimi nilikuwa
okay.
Si uchukue hata bunduki yangu hivi.
Oh, you went with the police?
Yeah, I went with the police.
Okay.
This is more valuable than my car.
Yeah. You know, in fairness, you are not allowed to sell guns. You can sell cars. In fairness. Yeah.
Truth be told, Charlene, watu wa garage ni sumbua. And hospital people, if you show up with a medical cover, wanainyonya yote.
Now, truth be told, Mali, doctors and the hospitals and the garage owners,
yes,
the service providers within our industry,
yes,
and our industry are truly interdependent. So ukisema hivyo, mimi sitaki kukasirikiwa. Remember, I'm an agent, so I'm about to face them from pressure. So sitaki kukasirikiwa.
Noted.
Yes, but we can agree, service providers and our insurance industry,
yes,
truly interdependent.
Perfect. And today we have been blessed to have our service providers. Insurance is a service. That's what we sell. We sell a service.
Yes.
When you take up insurance, at the point of claiming, that's the point when you now utilize this cover. So in the case of a motor insurance cover, that's when you go to the garage or when your car is damaged, that's the time you utilize a cover. If you've taken up a medical cover, then you show up at the hospital. And so today we have those providers here. You want to introduce them?
Yes. Now, to start with, we have two amazing service providers within our industry. And remember, that was the promise we made for you when we launched the TBT podcast. We told you this will not be just a conversation between Mali and I. We want to bring you the people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And today we have two amazing gentlemen who are service providers within our industry. And I'll allow Peter to go first, and then we have Ngatia go next. Kindly.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to have this conversation with you. I'm Dr. Peter Nzoki. I'm a private practitioner. Been in private healthcare for about a decade now. I would say we don't take all your money when you come to seek for services. Lazima tuanze mapema. Kidogo tu. Yeah. So my passion is around, how healthcare is practiced, trying to ensure that we give the best in terms of care. I'd also say that insurance is a great facilitator to allow people to access healthcare.
Okay.
If you talk to anyone, healthcare is not cheap.
Yes.
It's quite pricey. So I think in partnership with our insurance companies, we are able to provide that service, of course, affordably. Yes, so msiogope. If you are sick, just come see us.
Yes.
We shall get there.
Yes.
Okay, Ngatia.
I don't know. I don't think I will introduce myself like he did. I'm going to very easy. We run a garage.
Yes.
Lanford Auto Garage. And we just give the best. Yes.
And I must add a sentence there for Ngatia, because I've worked with Ngatia in the business. Ngatia si sumbua. So watu wa garage si sumbua.
As long as you bring your car vile na useme ukweli, najua watu wengine wadanganyanga.
Yes.
Gari yangu ni kidogo tu. Nilipika kidogo.
Yes.
Then it's a 3-day job.
Kumbe ni shida ni mingi.
Ni 3-day job na umedunga hapo.
And we will get there, Ngatia, because hii mambo ya kuleta gari garage Monday na unaniambia you will have your car ready on Tuesday. 1 week later, I'm still having a problem.
Kuna so many things zenye zinafanyikanga.
Yes.
Weather ni one of them. Kunaweza nyesha. Na unajua sisi kama madaktari mmefungiwa mahali.
You're not in a kashelfa. Okay. And why motor insurance, and why a garage, why a hospital? Statistically, in terms of insurance, and we did mention about 3% of Kenyans are insured.
Yes.
In terms of the spread of the distribution of insurance, motor insurance takes up about for 34% of that.
Yes.
Health insurance is another 33%.
So almost 70%.
So basically, between the two guests that we have here today, we have the big spread of what our insurance business is about.
Yes.
So it's going to be an exciting conversation.
Yes.
Welcome to the Truth Be Told podcast. My name is Malim Toto Mwanza, and
I'm yours truly, Mama Bima Kenya.
Karibu.
Sana.
Okay, and I think we had already started this conversation. So Ngatia, we'll just pick it up from there. What's the delay? Is it that you prefer someone coming in with cash, or you prefer insurance? Where your insurance itakuwa na delay, yeah, cash we will do it quickly. What's up with that?
Of course, cash anytime.
Hey, okay.
Hata naweza toa miwani ndio. How much cash is interesting.
Yeah.
The delay is usually from the side of the insurance.
Okay.
Customer ameingia, let's say on a Monday, it's an accident, the car has been delivered to us. For us, we do cash in lieu.
Yeah.
And there are customers who prefer to do it with us because of the services that we give.
Yes.
And then the delays as zinaanza, especially now with the cash in lieu, and where the money is directly coming to us. There is nowhere the agencies were insurance wanaweza ingilia. So delays sasa zinaanza. Ni kama za gava tu, bureaucracy and what have you. Before upatiwe pesa yako ndio kuja tuletee tukutengenezee gari. Somebody is just sitting on your money. And sasa inaanza kelele inafikia Mama Bima.
So the claims process.
The claims process. Emails back and forth, simu mpaka inabidi uende. You have to go physically to the office, one of the directors and the directors of so and so. Then your money imereleasiwa, but we only pay within 2 hours of a day. Between saa 2 na saa 4. Alafu unaambua that is on a Friday, namaanisha mpaka next week. It's simply bureaucracy.
And even before we go too much into the discussion, I think for the benefit of our viewers and our listeners, it's good for us to tell them what cash in lieu is. You would be shocked that very many people actually do not understand that, yes, you have insurance, you get into an accident and now there's a claim. There are 2 ways through which that claim could be honored. Okay. And one could be on quote unquote like credit basis, where you let now the insurance handle everything, send you to one of their appointed garages in their panel, and they pay, and only after everything is sorted, now you get your vehicle. Then there are people who will prefer,
those who know.
Yes, as those who know, as Ngatia, they will prefer, give me the money, let's assess the damages, let's come up with a ballpark figure of how much it will cost to repair this, give me the money, even a partial amount, let me go to my preferred provider or even a garage within your panel. We have everything sorted, then the vehicle is also assessed, and when you give the thumbs up that a good job has been done, pay me the balance and we are clear. So that is the cash in lieu that Ngatia is actually talking about.
Perfect. And the goal for us is actually to break some of this insurance jargon that we have in the industry. So you've talked about the bureaucracy. Mama Bima, what is the role of the agent in this claims process? When a car has been, I have had an accident, I've called you as my insurance agent, I've done an OB, or I've done the statement with the police station, I've submitted a claim form. What is the role of the agent at that point to ease in this process?
So first, the agent is the one who guides the client. Recently, I was in a situation where a client calls me. It's a Saturday evening. She's had an accident in Kileleshwa at that roundabout just before the police station. So she calls me. And when we're on phone, so you can already tell how distraught she is. When she's on phone, her phone is snatched by Mtu Andubi. You get, like, it was just chaos. But it's for you now. My role at that point is to guide her. What are the next steps? First, even at the scene of the accident, what does she need to do? What pictures does she need to take? Even in such circumstances, how should she even involve the authorities to come? And I also guide her on some things like, please don't take up any blame, even when you're talking to the policeman. But also have the vehicle towed, to the police station. Then, of course, just guide her on what documentation we need. Send her a claim form for her also to fill. Once you get the police report, also now send the same documentation to the insurance company, and also now organize. If the vehicle is mobile, sometimes we'll guide the client to have it go to a lot of underwriters now have their own assessment centers. So either be taken to the assessment center, or now we organize with the insurance company to have the vehicle towed either to their preferred garage, or the garage that the customer picks. So there's a whole process behind there. I always say that the claims part of this business is what really shows you the quality of even agents that you have. But I can tell you something, honestly, Mali, motor insurance claims in Kenya are tough.
And why is that?
I remember when I was very new in this business, I believe in starting the year in 2022 and saying that I'm quitting selling motor business. Like, I'm quitting motor business because sometimes, especially if you're very customer centric and you love to go out for your client, like that extra mile, the frustrations, you want to promise your client, and anyway, you're promising and doing it, but it also feels, you go to the underwriters and you feel,
Stuff.
You're just being pushed back. So I think this is a very good conversation we are having today. But basically, the role of an agent at that point is to champion and ensure that the process can be as painless as possible for the client.
Okay. And then Ngatia, thank you, Mabima. So the role of the agent is clear in this process and the guidance. So what is the role of the garage to easen this bureaucracy? Because there's almost a third or four-part conversation in this. The client, the insurer, the garage, it's all going round and round. So how do you easen that? How would you easen that in your experience from the points you were doing insurance claims?
It's not easy to easen because at the end of the day, for me, it's parts bought. You fix the car, you have your car.
Yes.
And as long as you don't have the money, it's not easy for me to fix your car.
Yes.
The parts zinanuliwa. The parts they look for, like for cash in lieu, they send their agent to the ground. Go look for open market prices. They come and give you, this is what we have found. This is what you are offering. Fix the car with this much. Yes. Sometimes inafika mahali, the client, you have an agreement with the client, like what we quoted for the car was around 800,000. The insurance cuts down 200,000. And then the client has to top up like 200,000. Ndio gari yake ifiksiwe vile anataka. And for us, I had to take shortcut. I will not take shortcut whatsoever. So inabaki client ame-top up, ndio insurance imemsaidilia kidogo, na yeye pia naye mabaki amesaidia.
So do you have connections? Do you know, like as a garage owner, will they know connect within the insurance company that will help to speed up this process a bit?
Not quite, because most insurance companies, and then you don't get, even if you have connections, you maybe have connections from one insurance company and not the other. And then customers are coming from everywhere. Paka zengine zenye huwezi taja, but wote tunawakubali tu, wote ni wako
kabisa.
You sort them vile inafaa. Hakuna it's not easy for me to help. The only way for me to help is do ikitumwa very quickly. Now in a week or 2 weeks, you have your car. Perfectly done.
And it's coming out very clear, Mali, that even for where the garage owner, especially if you're dealing with a reputable garage and people who do a good job, the stress that we normally tend to run into during that claims process, it really doesn't sit with the garage. It's on our side as the industry. You get that is where maybe the bureaucracy, that is where things are not flowing. Maybe people are trying to undercut here and there. But I think that what Ngatia is saying, if the money is placed there, if we agree that this is the budget for this claim and we honor that in full, the client will actually be happy and TATs will be met. But I'm also keen now to hear from Dr. Ngatia said he prefers cash clients to insurance clients. Daktari,
yes.
Do you hold the same? How are we?
We welcome everyone.
Yes.
It's easier if people are paying cash, actually. I think the challenge for us is not everyone can comfortably afford out of pocket. So that brings in a lot of challenges. And given that we don't have a lot of guys who are insured, when we look at the Kenyan landscape, most of the guys who are insured are from the employer. Corporates. So in fact, that's how we get most guys coming in to see us. The challenge also with insurance is, for us, I think it's more like you're operating on credit. So you service the patient first. Then you
wait for the money.
Unlike Ngatia's business, where I think you show him the money first,
very quickly.
then he reacts.
Wacha sana tupigane hapa. Niambie ni hospitali gani hata kwa ni registration ama ile tango ndio consultation. Bila consultation uonekane. Unless
no, the main thing is because we are highly regulated, you actually have to take responsibility for any patient you see. So that means also legal liability in the services that you offer, because healthcare is quite sensitive. I'm sure you guys have heard, if it's a medical emergency, you can be treated anywhere. Although, to be precise, what the law states is we just have to make sure you're stable.
It's first aid.
So
wait. So the law, you should, if you have a medical emergency, anywhere you show up, whether you have an insurance cover or it's cash, you should be treated without question.
It doesn't matter who you are. But now that treatment is where we have to be a bit specific.
So the definition of the treatment.
Okay. The treatment just means we ensure that you're stable. Stable means you're not going to die.
Okay.
It does not, if you are unconscious and you're not going to die, you are stable.
Now we start talking money.
If you're unconscious or conscious.
If you're unconscious, okay, we don't necessarily need to talk to you. We can talk to the people who have brought you. But what that generally means is we have to make sure that your life is not in danger. And there are certain medical parameters that guide us into saying that you are not in danger. So as long as your heart is beating, uko sawa. Tunaweza endelea. Yes, although I think there's a lot of initiative, probably even with the new shift that the government is trying to introduce with access to healthcare. Probably those are some of the initiatives. We can even have a whole day conversation about its merits and demerits against the pre-existing NHIF. Yes, but the challenge that we mostly have is quality healthcare is not readily available to everyone. And that's because for us to offer that good quality healthcare, number one, we need to ensure that the people offering the service are well compensated. And also they have the necessary equipment to offer you that service. My stint in public healthcare was fraught with a lot of challenges.
Before you continue, wakati wa COVID, just
no worries.
Ulikuwa unasikia sana PPE. Kwani zilishianga ama
No, we still have them.
Okay,
I think the challenge with COVID is on my personal view, I think we were not humble enough to just say this is something very new that we don't know a lot about it.
No experience.
No experience with it.
Yeah.
I think it's the first pandemic, even in humanity's history,
Yes.
that affected the whole world.
Yes.
I think when COVID came, one of the jokes I used to have with many of my clients, and when we do a lot of health promotion, so when I was talking to them, I was telling them, God can only give you what you can handle. So me, I felt the country cannot handle COVID. We had enough problems. I think that time we were dealing with either floods, droughts.
There was a lot.
So I was saying, like even in the Bible, when the plagues were being sent, si tulirushiwa zenye tunaweza nazo. So I was like, COVID, no way. So again, it came. And there were a lot of many issues happening in the background, a lot of maneuvering. Like Ngatia is saying, there was a lot of challenges with PPE.
Yes.
So at that time, because of the high demand, one mask was costing maybe 1,000 shillings, something which we usually source for 10 shillings. People were hoarding. So there was a lot of issues. And I think around that time, insurance said and that's why it's important to read fine print. There's something around pandemic.
A pandemic.
So
it was an exclusion.
It was an exclusion,
Yeah.
So, a pandemic is what the lawyers like calling force majeure. Sema mkono wa Mungu. Something happened, it's an act of God, not a risk that insurance usually covers. So we had a lot of challenge. Thankfully, the regulator stepped in and said, this is something that insurance has to sort out.
IRA, insurance regulator,
And I think at that point, we really also saw the human side of the business, because I think at first, all the insurance companies went into a panic. They were seeing the numbers from across the world. They were seeing what was happening in India, and they were seeing, this is the year maybe we all go down at this rate because of the claims. And that's why maybe at first they had run to IRA, shelter us. This is an exclusion. But I think at that point, both the government, IRA intervened, and there was also now consensus within the business that the insurance players needed now to show the human side of the business and actually cover those claims. So eventually it worked out for the better.
Oh, it did. Okay. So, Charlene, just a quick fact.
Yes.
Did you know that last year, as a country, we paid out 528 billion for treatment, for hospital costs?
Yes.
528 billion.
Okay.
Can you guess how much was paid out of pocket?
Out of pocket?
Yes.
I would imagine maybe 2/3 of that.
About 400 billion was out of pocket. Just about 126 was from insurance. The rest was all out of pocket. And it's crazy. The amount of cases that we have going to hospital will always be there. We will always need treatment, but somehow we are paying so much more out of pocket. And I'll come back to you, Daktari, on that conversation. What's your role when it comes to giving clients advice about insurance at the point of service? And this is clients have shown up, you have to charge them this crazy amount of money. They don't have insurance, they have to pay out of pocket. Is there a role you play at that point?
Do you even feel you have a role? Do you take up that role to sensitize them, Daktari?
Okay. I've had to take a point and think about it. So one of the things that we have to say around healthcare, unfortunately, I'm not in Ngatia's industry. Anything to do with cars, it's very relaxing and pleasurable. And fun, I think. And people
from where you sit.
Yes. As a car owner, I can say it's very pleasurable.
Yes.
And in fact, when you guys were discussing about the delays, I was like, one of the problem is when you get into an accident, the best you can do is just scream. You scream at the agent, you scream at the underwriter, you scream at the garage. Maybe that's why he doesn't find it.
You see, for me, exciting. There is no emergency. Once we get an accident, the emergency
imeishia hapo. Yes.
For me, sasa ni pole tu mpaka hizi vitu happen, then
but there's a common ground between motor claims and health claims, because they're both emotive. Just like in your case, this person was calling you crying, they've just had an accident. It's an emotive situation.
It's very emotive, actually.
And
very
then the health cover as well, the health service is at the time of point of sickness is when you're going. So both of them have some emotive aspect of it. So sorry, Dr. you were saying.
So even before I had gotten carried away by that tangent, so when you come in, the first question I have to ask myself, if I'm to start from first principles, is what do you need?
Okay.
So let's say Ngatia has had an accident, he's injured. Like I said, our first priority is to ensure that you're not going anywhere. You're here with us. You're still alive. So that's what we tend to first. Then from there, now we start discussing in terms of what services we can offer you to get you back on your feet. And then you advise us on, how you want to pay for it. Most of the time when guys go to hospital, the temptation is usually to tell the doctor, may have 5K in my pocket. So you plan around this. What I usually try to do, and what I think most of my colleagues try to do, is one, do a needs analysis, find out what you need, regardless of the amount that you have. Then from there, we can have those discussions. These discussions, we mostly have them when someone is going for inpatient management. Inpatient means you need to be admitted. Back in assist. You don't go back home. So that's now where we tend to have the challenge, because inpatient admissions are quite costly.
That's where it's costly, very expensive.
It's very expensive. Now, if we look at even admission pattern or health patterns in our landscape, very rarely do guys get admitted. I don't know when was the last time you got admitted. I don't know when was the last time you got admitted.
That's been a while.
People don't. Maybe women get admitted more because they have to get babies. But it's not very common. So that tends to influence people's behavior. And I'm sure even if you have a chat with Ngatia, he'll tell you a bulk of the guys are not comprehensively covered, because you feel
you need to put a pin on that. We'll come on that. This is third party versus comprehensive insurance. Okay.
So in healthcare, and the funny story that I can relate to is my uncle's friend. He had been paying for cover for a long time, medical cover. He had not fallen sick. So he was like, why am I paying for this thing every year? I'd say a reasonable healthcare cover, if you're doing it on your own out of pocket, might cost you around 100K if you have family.
Oh no.
Less or more?
More.
Okay, so me, I'm lowballing it.
Yes.
So costs excess of 100,000. So most people, that's a significant investment to make, and you don't get sick often. Okay. So you find, something has happened, and that's why we call it a cover, because it's to insure you against unexpected risk. So you're very sick. You've come, we are telling you, okay, these are the options. We think we need to admit you, send you here and there. Then that's now where we have a michangos happening, where guys say, please fund me. And that is the only time when we get to have the opportunity and try to, find out, are you employed? Are you self-funding? And what options are there available? Certain medical conditions lend themselves to be treated over a longer period of time. So when that happens, we advise people now, take a medical cover so that at least you lessen the burden.
Okay.
My advice to most people is, it's always good to, let's say, there's a saying that you need to water your well before you need it. So I would advise most people, if you can, get a cover. It does not necessarily need to be outpatient. Outpatient is usually for stuff like flus, stomach upsets. Those ones can be managed affordably.
Yes.
But inpatient.
But on a minimum, in case you need to be admitted, get a cover. And I think that's a bit more price reasonable if you only have inpatient.
Yes.
Because like we've said, from a medical perspective, your chances of getting
Is rare.
admitted is not very common.
Yeah.
But Daktari, I'm keen to know, especially from your current station at work, if someone comes and you see there's need for an admission,
Yes.
and maybe they're going into the ICU, what's the minimum deposit you'll be asking for?
Wait.
Because I know you do. Currently, you're stationed in a tier 1 hospital. What is that deposit looking like?
Before he answers,
Yes.
I once helped a lady found an accident around Wayakiwe.
Yes.
And then just before where Safaricom is,
Hapo Medanta.
kuna ofisi ya chief hapo hivi. So when I arrived, she had just been in an accident.
Yes.
The officers there requested me to mkimbize hospitali, the closest hospital that would make sense ama stabilize. If I can say the name.
Yes, sure.
Mpisha.
Yes.
So we rushed to Mpisha. She needs to go into theater, and hizo tufanyiwe vitu zake. So what they requested me, since nobody knows kama akona cover ama hana cover ama nini, I was requested to deposit my car. I'ma leave my car.
Oh, wow.
You as the good Samaritan.
It's not even an amount. You have to leave your car.
Yes, collateral.
Lazima ulipe.
Gari yangu mimi nilikuwa
Okay.
simu chukua hata bunduki yangu hivi.
Oh, you went with the police.
Yeah, I went to the police.
Okay.
This is more valuable than my car.
You know, in fairness, you're not allowed to sell guns. Sell cars. In fairness. Yes.
But that was more of a guarantee than
Oh, wow.
now
Okay.
reaching the parents, ni ngumu, hawapatikani, nobody knows.
Yes.
So nikabaki hapo overnight. The morning I came, for some reason wazazi wakaanza kupiga simu, and word got home. They came with her cover.
Oh, thank God.
She had a cover, but nobody knew.
Yes.
Ningekuwa sina kitu ya
kuacha.
kuwekelea,
Ile gari kubwa ingekuwa ilienda tu hivyo.
she would have just gone.
So that's quite interesting. I'll side more with the hospital.
Okay.
With good reason. So I can't remember which exact clause, but this is actually stuff in the Constitution that governs our behavior. So there's what we call patient rights, and there's what we call provider rights. So even the Constitution of Kenya actually covers us as providers.
Yes.
Telling that the patient, you have rights, but you also have responsibilities. So for me, my personal experience with something similar, I remember I was in clinic and I was about to close, and then a good Samaritan brought a street urchin who had a fit, a convulsion. Wow. Okay? So came in, we had to use some medication to stabilize because that was a medical emergency.
Yes.
If you're having a fit, it's a medical emergency because it can lead to other things that may threaten your life.
Yeah.
So the medication we gave was very good medication, expensive medication, but we didn't charge. Okay? So we gave the medication, the guy calmed down. The convulsion stopped. He was stable, gained consciousness. But of course, when you're having a fit, it's usually provoked by an underlying medical condition, meaning that we needed to investigate further. The police might say it. Further investigation. So for further investigation, of course, I need to charge. It was, for that particular clinic, we closed at 8. It was headed to 9 p.m. after just managing this guy, making sure he's... So one, I need to send my guys home. I need to get home. But now the person who had brought the individual who was convulsing wanted to leave. And you're like, you can't leave.
Oh my Lord.
You're like, you can't leave. Because us, we need to go home.
Yes.
Because on that particular day the clinic I was running is not 24 hours.
Okay.
So I was like, you can't go home. You brought him. So as it's something for actually people to know, when you act as a good Samaritan, you actually have responsibility over that individual. Si ati nimesaidia nimewacha.
And I think then the constitution needs to be amended and we now have good Samaritan rights. Everyone else having rights and
So
not a good Samaritan.
it means you have responsibility because from the provider point of view, I don't know you.
Yeah.
I don't know this person. I don't know their relatives. And you are the one who has come with them.
Yeah.
And you see, at this point, this person was convulsing. They are not in the right state of mind for us to have a more deeper conversation in terms of how they plan to settle their bill. So for most hospitals, actually not most, all hospitals, by law, we are mandated to stabilize you. Stabilize you means we prevent you from dying.
Yes.
So if I put in a line and give you some fluid and you're stable, then now we transfer you to what we call facility of choice. If there's no current facility of choice, then we have to send you to a government facility because we all pay for government institutions to run via our taxes.
Yes.
They are open to all citizens for most things.
Okay.
Yes, because also the government facilities, at some point, there are certain things you need to pay for. So that is one of the challenges because the hospital, once they take the person in, again, I'm sure you've seen very contentious cases of someone who is admitted to hospital, then unfortunately they die. But they have a bill to pay. And the hospital is like, Mspotulipa, we are not releasing the body. And then you get a lot of back and forth with the public being outraged, rightly so to some extent. Because you see now the family, you have lost someone.
There's grief that you're dealing with.
You need to sort that out.
Yes.
And let's say even in the unfortunate situation that this person is the breadwinner. And Dr. Nzioka is there, is like, me, I want my money. Kabla tuongee story ingine, you give me my cash.
Yes.
But also, and I think why this conversation is always important is also to try and look at the other side. Again, even as healthcare providers, we are employers. We are also supporting families in our own way. So you can imagine if, even as we say, we are not going to pay our employees because we have some outstanding medical bills not sorted out. That would mean you cannot get the best service. It creates a lot of issues. So that's why you find, naambiwa hata gari, bunduki hatuwezi tukauza, lakini gari tutauza.
Ama letter title deed.
Letter title deed. So those we call them guarantees. Is just to ensure that the hospital is covered in the event of you find that it's difficult to settle a bill. And to go back to your question, ICU is called intensive care unit for a reason. You're going to have a nurse hovering around you every 10 minutes. People don't know. A nurse is checking on you.
That's the whole definition of intensive.
Yes.
It is regular checkups. Okay.
So the nurse has to be on toes to check if every patient, every 10 minutes. That's the minimum requirement. To just make sure everyone is stable because these are highly unstable patients. Okay? Now, if there is something in hospital we call consumables, these are the things we use. ICU drugs are quite expensive. You require very precise equipment. So, in fact, if you look at how we administer medication, we can give you medication in drops per minute.
Oh, wow.
1 drop per minute. Tunakuwekea dawa very precise. So the equipment is very expensive. Running an ICU is not even profitable. It's not.
Okay.
Yes, it's one of those things you keep there for, I can put in quotes, marketing purposes. Yes, niko na ICU. It's like you say me, I can beautify your car and make it look better.
Buffing.
The equivalent of that naweza sema tuko na booth ya paint.
Detail. Hapo ndo kuna detail.
Yes. So you find that for you to put in a patient in ICU, the personnel are highly trained. It's a whole specialization to have ICU doctors, have ICU nurses.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's a very precise sort of patient management. So the minimum you can pay for, okay, kwangu kunaweza kuwa more expensive.
Yeah.
But if I look at a more affordable place, 300K.
How about Kwako? Tell us also Kwako tier 1.
You need half a meter.
Hey, this is a deposit.
You need deposit. Na tulizani maswali. Before we start
Anything.
Yes, na tulizani maswali and it's not negotiable.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you see now, if you don't have an insurance, you have to raise
That money.
You have to raise that money. And then now that brings in the question.
Is it negotiable?
No, it's not up for negotiation.
That's a negotiation.
Yes. So now it brings in the question, the amount that and you see now this is where it becomes a bit tricky and in some instances a bit sad. The amount that you need to raise to pay for that ICU deposit is way less that you would have needed to pay for an insurance cover.
Yes. Particularly for the inpatient benefits we are talking about. Yeah.
So you find if you had even maybe paid 150 for the year, it would have covered your ICU.
Yes.
And when you come out of ICU, you don't go home.
Yes.
You go to the ward. And when you go to the ward, again, we have to we have to keep an eye on you because anyone who is in ICU and leaves ICU can easily go back to ICU. And sometimes you don't even take you out of the ICU directly. We take you to something called HDU, which is a high dependency unit, meaning that you are dependent. So this time the nurse is not checking you every 10 minutes. They might do it every 20.
Yes.
But still again, a HDU deposit, because it also requires a deposit, it's also expensive.
This thing is expensive.
Very.
Yes. And you see, if you look at the instances that would require you to get into ICU, for a general healthy population, it's not very predictable. If you have a chronic condition, then depending how well you're being managed, it's quite easy to tip over. And that's why that's when we start now having that conversation. But you see now at that point, we have already crossed the bridge.
Yeah.
Nah, I think the young people who say, "Meshachomeka." Things, vitu zimeharibika. So it becomes very tough.
Okay.
I really do hope our viewers and our listeners are really following this conversation. And Mali, you gave very, the statistics on how much was paid out last year. Over 500 billion, and 400 of that amount was actually out of pocket. And I hope Kenyans can appreciate that out of pocket probably looks like so many harambes, evening meetings and WhatsApp groups.
This is the chamas that we were talking about.
Yes. That out-of-pocket payment also looks like very high-value assets that were sold in distress. Shamba, ulipelekea Shylock, ukapewa pesa kidogo. And when that title did get to that, Shylock, hairudi nyumbani.
Gary, a good Samaritan.
I hope we can appreciate that that amount of what is being paid out of pocket can come down if we embraced insurance a little bit more. It is actually, insurance is the more affordable way of putting risk at bay. Like, of course, we do know that we cannot be sure on when you will need that inpatient hospitalization. And for sure, as Dr. said, outpatient, you can try manage out of pocket in a way. But when it comes to inpatient, sometimes that bill may run in the millions. So instead of waiting until now, you are you're financially depleted. One of the highest or the fastest ways of Kenyan families going bankrupt is actually through medical emergencies.
It's actually majority of our families are one hospital bill away from poverty. And that is so sad. Now, Ngatia, please allow us to bring you back into the spotlight. We talked of COVID, and I know you do have a COVID story.
You got into this business probably around that time?
Yes.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about Landford.
And
why? And is this, and even because I know there are other service providers, maybe, or potential prospective service providers within the garage business.
No.
Is it also a good industry to get into?
Yes, it is. It is fun. Like he said,
Yeah.
it is very
That's
fun.
the exciting
A lot of
bit.
fun.
A lot of fun. It's like putting unacheza ile game ya jenga, putting pieces together mpaka zingiane,
Yes.
customer kufurahia. So how we got into the business is through COVID. We used to do other biashara events and branding, and everywhere was closed. And then we have this space. It's a very huge space. You don't know what else to do with the space. And rent has to be paid. Wafanyikazi lazima walipwe. Things have to keep moving.
Yes.
So na kalia gari yangu na hii gari sinaweza tengeneza. YouTube very fast. How to remove a shock. Katoa shock inakushinda kurudisha. You call a friend, mnakuja sasa ni pole tu hapa. There was so much time to learn.
Yes.
There was a passion in it because I love cars. There was a passion in it. Sasa ilikuwa ni pole kidogo COVID. There is a friend who comes, tumefanya service, amekuachia $1,500, watu wanaweza kula leo.
Yes.
Na sijui watu pia walikuwa wanajua aje umetumiwa pesa before.
They could say.
I think it's a fun comedy. They're just the way like people can call you and they don't find you. Ukiakisha simu washaambiwa
It comes on.
Unasaidia wale unaweza kusaidia, people wakaanza kujua. Guys got to know the garage.
Yes.
That's how it grew. And now it has become a very big. People can get into motor vehicle repair. It's a good business.
Okay.
If you do genuine work.
And okay, so thank you. And how was it getting into the panel for the insurance?
Getting into the panel is not easy, I would say. And there's a lot of back and forth. And when you get into the panel, you repair somebody's car, because what they do is a car had an accident, it's brought to you. So when a car have an accident, and then they give the client a panel of garages.
Yes.
So you, without knowing, a client can choose your garage.
Okay. They can have a preferred garage. Yes.
Imeletwa hapo asubuhi, okay, you receive, tengeneza gari. You're paid after 30 days. Gari nataka karibu 800,000. You don't want to do shortcut.
Yes.
You have a limited time to repair the car. Client ana push, insurance na push. Unakwenda kuna vitu, nobody watu hawata kupatia credit, waindi hawakupatia credit. And things you don't get from one place. Yes. Inaweza pata bumper from one store, another rim kwa gari nyingine, garage nyingine. You have to collect things. And then sasa kwa panel umeshamaliza kutengeneza gari, peleka invoice, unaambiwa you wait for 30 days. Or if you want your money immediately, some insurance companies nakwambia 30% off immediately.
I think that is just so painful.
So if the insurance company pays early, you discount.
Yes, you discount.
And is that the same for hospitals?
Do you know how well
that's the same for hospitals as well.
Yes. For us, it's, sometimes slightly different. If you want to get panels, it's also a challenge. Excuse me. You have to, one, offer good services.
Yes.
Not take shortcuts. The other bit is you have to be affordable, not necessarily to your patient, to the insurance. Not necessarily to your patient.
Okay.
Because you find sometimes there's what we call capitations. So capitations, what that means is your bill in my place can be 10K. And the insurance says comfortably they can afford to pay me 6K. And they'd say under the guise of, I'll send you numbers.
Yes. I'll drive the traffic.
Drive the traffic.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're in business and you're dealing with numbers, we know it's a law of averages.
Yes.
So you're hoping if Ngatia's cousin came with something ridiculous,
Yes.
Ngatia will just come and he says, I'm sneezing.
Yes, yes.
So if he says I'm sneezing, his bill is like 2K.
Yeah.
You try and recover.
From that,
From that 10K, the 4K, you try and recover.
yeah.
So that's also some of the challenges that we have as providers. Capitations. Of course, there are good reasons
Yeah.
around that. I because now he said that, sometimes he's made to discount to
Yes.
30%. I don't know how that works in business, because that feels like it's wiping off your profit.
It has wiped up everything.
And I'm very worried if the job was to be done with 800K, so 240 has gone just like that,
Yes,
right?
if you want your money immediately.
So how do you work with 560? So what would you go
for
for?
you to work with 560, then it means I have to finger you, the client. Then I have to do
A shoddy job.
So there's a compromise on the service that you're offering.
The spare parts will probably be secondhand.
Yeah.
Of course, most of the insurances will try and do as per where you were original before the accident. Then I take it further down.
Because my experience, I've had the misfortune of being involved in an accident.
Yes.
So when my car was being repaired via the insurance, the shocks I was given were second hand.
Yeah.
They lasted, I think, 2 months.
Oh, wow.
They lasted 2 months. My mech came, looked. He's a very dramatic guy.
Yes.
It's called Mato. He's like, mafuta ya shoki wa kila mahali. Angalia.
Yes.
So he gets very excited because it means it's extra work.
Of
for
course,
him.
yeah. You get to pay him something, yeah.
I get to pay him something. So unfortunately, because I had to replace, and some of the areas where I had traveled, the roads were not so good. It means I had to change the whole suspension, including the arms, the bushes. It was quite something. People who are German inclined,
And,
he can attest.
that's where now the cost comes.
It was not an easy undertaking.
Yeah.
It was quite significant, actually. And that left me very frustrated.
Yes.
Because from a customer perspective, me, I just know garage is insurance. Everything is second hand. So it's usually kukushikilia, then you
Yeah.
go get your new stuff.
If you can wait for the 60-day window or
If you
the
can wait for the
90-day
60
window,
day,
you get
yes.
your full payment.
You get your full payment.
Otherwise, you get...
But you still have to see people. Yeah?
you have to know some people here and there.
yes.
Okay, so let's put a pin on that. Daktari, if I come to your hospital today,
Yes.
I get an ultrasound or an X-ray, I'm paying cash, I will pay 5,000 maybe. If I'm paying by insurance, it will be 10,000. Why is that? Why is there disparity in cost just because I've taken up insurance?
So there's disparity in cost, number one, because we discount for cash payers.
Okay.
So the cash payer is not that we are charging the person with insurance more.
Yes.
We are doing the opposite. We are discounting the person who is paying cash.
So the insurance cost is the actual cost.
It is the actual computed cost.
Okay.
So depending, it was interesting. I was having a conversation with Mama Bima just before we got on set in terms of how we organize healthcare in this country. So roughly there are 3 models, we can say 2, for simplicity's sake. So the first one is what your taxes pay for.
Yeah.
This is government facilities,
Yeah.
open to everyone.
Yes.
Ushuru. So your KNH, Kenyatta National Hospital, your district, your county
the referral
hospitals,
The
hospitals,
dispensaries in the
dispensaries in the village, they're all covered under
Yes.
there. So for them, they are government funded, they're okay.
Yes.
Everything comes from government, trickles down. The next bit is we have private healthcare. Private healthcare, there are 2.
Yes.
So there are for-profit organizations, there are non-profit organizations. I'm sure most people would be shocked to know that Aga Khan, MP Shah, Nairobi Hospital a non-profit organization.
At their cost level.
They're non-profit. They don't have profits.
Yeah, you should see the cameraman. Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
So they have, when they have a financial cycle, accountants call it a surplus. They make a surplus. So Nairobi Hospital have said their mission in life, or the mission for their existence, is to further access to quality healthcare. Now, access, either it's to normal people, politicians, that's up for debate.
Okay.
Aga Khan, their mission is to ensure that the quality of healthcare is top notch.
Yes.
I can sort of vouch for them because, disclaimer, I've worked for them before.
Yes.
They're very good at
Quality.
healthcare quality provision.
Yes.
They are known for that. They are extremely good.
Yes.
Okay. Then now you have so for them, when they get like Aga Khan is funded by the Aga Khan Foundation from Pakistan. So all the money that they bring in is channeled towards expansion. That's why you see Nairobi Hospital, for instance, every year it's like they're building.
Okay.
So they're not a for-profit organization. Then you have other tiers within that non-profit sort of organizations, like faith-based organizations, your Kijabes, your Tenwex.
Yes.
Mata Hospital is also a faith-based organization. Yes. Kikuyu. So for them, it's more or less the same thing. They are not for profit.
Yes.
They charge just to expand their reach and maintain their services. Then you have for-profit organizations, the ARs, the avenues. So them, whatever current hospital, whatever they generate, their shareholders somewhere waiting to get a return on the investment.
Okay.
And of course, some of the money is plowed back to sustain operations and pay people.
Yes.
So if you are running a business, there is a concept of cash flow. You can be unprofitable, but if you have money, you can pay people and you can stay afloat. You can have what you call book profits. I'm sure even in your business, you might have people owing you money. You're like, I have a lot of money. If everyone pays, I'm good. But currently, if you don't have money in the bank to run your operations, it's a bit difficult. So you find for insurance, if you are extremely good, you get paid within 30 days. Extremely good means you have a good accounting department that does your collections and follows up. If you do not, then now it becomes a challenge. Now, the people who can afford comfortably an accounting department are big hospitals, like mine.
Yes.
If you cannot afford, then you find, that's why when you go to certain specialists, they're like, I don't take insurance. You pay me cash, I'll write for you a claim form.
Oh, good. It's because they don't have that capacity.
They don't have the capacity
to follow up on every claim that is coming along.
They don't.
Yes.
And you find sometimes, depending on how big you are, the insurance company treats you differently. So if you're a very big hospital, your money will be paid immediately.
Yes.
Because you can imagine a CEO of a company going to Aga Khan and Nairobi Hospital ambaye kawa yako achukui. Those are the guys who are called who make sure that the guys working for insurance are called at 3 a.m. in the morning to sort out with the hospital what they need to sort out. But now you find that now most private practices might not have that muscle to get their dues earlier. So for them, because of certain frustrations, either getting paneled, but mostly it's getting your payment on time, they decide it's not for them. So that's why even in your day-to-day, you might find some of your clients are like, I saw my doctor, he's given me a claim form. How do I get reimbursed? So there's that concept of reimbursement. So you find now for us, because we are paid later, that is idle money. So that one has to be accounted for, because you still need to pay salaries, you need to pay your rents. If you're paying rents, you need to source for your reagents and other things. So that means you have to make sure that you have enough cash on hand. So if I'm going to wait 30 or 60 days, then I need to make sure that I have adequate cover to account for that idle money. Because like I can say for all of us, even most Kenyans, me have showed up, you've said you take insurance. I can't start telling you, now you see me as a doctor, your insurance has not paid me the bills for 30 days ago, so I need those claims processed fast. No, you'll get the service immediately.
Okay. So may I ask, so is it because that you get your payments late that you would go to a hospital and we decide, uko na homa, but we want to do all the tests possible? We will do everything. We will do blood work. We will do. You have a flu. We will do kidney function. We will do all the tests just to make sure that we harvest from this one client. Is that a thing?
Unfortunately, in some instances, if I'm to be completely honest, it might be. Most people are ethical, and the good thing is, most of our patients with the advent of the internet, you can research.
Yes.
Google
is your friend.
Google is your friend. So if you come and you are having, you're sneezing, I can now start telling him, sasa your kidney.
Yeah, you need an X-ray.
We need to check your kidney. Even he will be like, what does my nose have to do with my kidneys?
Yes.
So...
But Doctor, that's an assumption because there's some, and Kenyans take doctors to speak the gospel truth.
Yes.
And just like mechanics and garages, you go tell me my car needs whatever oil, I'm like, okay, you take it, do what you need to do.
Yes.
So we say if the doctor tells me I need this test, the doctor has said.
Yes.
So where do you draw the line?
So sometimes even me, I've gotten people and I've told them, you need to do this.
Yes.
And we've had a long conversation. So for most doctors, I am hoping, but from what I have seen, most guys are ethical.
Yes.
Because one, it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to have a lot of things which are necessary. So also because we have our insurance partners who are the payers.
Yes.
They're the ones who are paying.
Yes.
So because they're also paying, there's a process in the claims process where they have to
vet.
Scrutinize and vet and just see, is this claim making sense? Amekuja na homa nimempima raw.
Yes. And I love that you brought that out, Daktari, because it's true. Other than whatever you will say, go to the lab and do this, there's also the care team at the insurance company that will probably be called to authorize, because a lot of clients get really angry when there's a pre-authorization that has been sent to the insurance, but it's for that control to make ensure that also that process is not being abused. But we can say, I know in communication we learned that when it bleeds, it leads, or if it bleeds, it leads. So of course, bad news travel faster, but for sure, we can agree that also doctors are ethical. We've all been to hospital, every now and then, and we probably have had good,
some good service,
some good services. And even the same case, even with insurance companies. I hope today's episode does not come out as, oh my God, umesikia motor insurance, hawalipi, wanaambia watu wa garage, like 130%. It's not everyone, by the way. We still do have very quality, even motor underwriters who follow processes, who also, you can see their effort to ensure that the process is as painless as possible for the clients. Yes. Yeah,
so I can say yes. Every market needs to have a madman.
Yes.
We do have a few bad apples. There are not that many.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think that even the business of healthcare insurance would be sustainable
without.
So the challenge that we have is just trying to balance everything. Like I said, when we get someone, even me, when I see patients, my first priority is to make sure you get what you need. And sometimes you might show up to hospital and we might find something that we had not budgeted for. And we call that an incidental finding. Meaning, tumefanya diagnosis bahati mbaya. The way you take your car to a mech, he looks at it. Ulikuwa unasema,
and we'll come to that because utapeleka kwa garage.
Yes.
Unaenda kutengeneza dent.
Yes.
huyu jamaa anafungua anasema hata hii mounting sijui sensor and it becomes a whole thing.
So even for us, coincidentally, you might make a diagnosis bahati mbaya, and that's why we tend to personally actively advise people to do a lot of wellness. Wellness is now like taking your car for service.
Yes, regular checkups.
Just a general overview to see whether there is something. In my line of work, unfortunately, I've made diagnosis of diabetes bahati mbaya. So that's why now a person just came in for wellness. We noticed the sugars are everywhere. They're not making sense. The guy has 0 symptoms. He's okay. And we usually do now these wellness checks for such diseases which are not apparently obvious. Most guys come to hospital because of symptoms. I've never seen anyone come to hospital and tell me niko na bacterial infection. No, it's for me to tell them this is caused by a bacterial infection.
Sorry, Doctor. So Ngatia, is that also the case with garages where with cars, we assume we know what the issue is with our car?
Kuna wengine wanakujanga wamefanya research Google and they know what they are coming to fix. Kuna wengine wanakuja tu wewe nisotie gari. Wale wanasumbuanga sana wale wamekuja Google. Yes.
Sasa daktari ametuambia tu Google.
Google unaweza Google uambiwe hata unakufa.
That happens commonly. We are changing the way that we are approaching certain things. I'd say initially for most of my colleagues it was quite annoying. A patient has come, they've Googled just because of experience. When you deal with something, even him, I'm sure, if he sees a car wobbling in a certain way, he's already started making spot diagnosis. This is what I am thinking. This is what is likely to be the issue. The challenge with Google is it lacks context. So what I say is do your research. When you come, I will put it into context. Yes. So that's why I am...
trust the doctor.
Yes. And one of the things that we've also changed the practice a bit is around patient education. So I tell my patients, especially when you're coming to private healthcare, you're paying for this service. Ask as many questions as possible. It's your body.
Don't just be told.
Yes, don't be passive. We appreciate that patients are willing to take instructions, they are willing to listen to advice. But sometimes when a patient asks you these questions, it actually enables you to make better decisions for them. Because now I fully understand what your condition is and where you're coming from, and context is everything. So if someone does not really ask you questions, or they're not very participatory in their treatment, it's quite a challenge. And what we've also found out is, I don't know if it's a Gen Z thing, walisema wapangwingwi, so treatment nowadays is very collaborative. It requires input from the patient.
It's a discussion.
It requires input from the doctor. So in fact, people come, they have their own ideas about what is going on. I will listen to that. If it has merit, I inform them. If it doesn't have merit, I also inform them. Yes. But there's no grand conspiracy anywhere to lump on a lot of, let's say, tests or medication to patients. The thing that I try to also tell insurance providers is there needs to be better conversations around what a medical cover entails, what are the exclusions, what are the benefits. Because you see sometimes guys come in and the way the cover is utilized, I've had conversations of guys telling me, ikitu inaisha.
It's almost expiring. And we talked about this in episode 1, really.
Na pesa yangu hapo.
You have to utilize this cover,
Pesa yangu iko, na need kumaliza. So what people don't know, and because it's not a common conversation that I will have with you, although I'm in the know, is number one, there's something called copays. So copays means you come to see me, tell you, sir, my consultation is 3K. No problem. But you have to pay me 1,000 from your pocket before I see you. because the insurance has instituted that.
Yes.
Then guys get very annoyed. And you see, this is usually informed by the level of activity of utilization one the insurance or the underwriter has seen in conjunction with your HR. Because now when we are having discussions with some of our insurance partners, one of the things that they might tell me is, look, me, I'm willing to give very many benefits to our patients.
Yes.
The issue is, HR amesema, mimi niko na 10 million ya premiums. Cheza kama wewe, jipange na hiyo pesa.
Work with that.
Work with that. The insurance is looking at this money is like, okay, given this money, the benefits might be less. But the HR is pushing and saying, if you want to retain my business, probably I'm giving you health insurance plus other things. You need to work with this budget or you lose the whole business. So, of course, you know, like Kenyans, if you get someone in the street and ask them, can they repair a car? Even me, if you ask me, I'll say yes. Then I'll talk to my friend Ngatia, we'll repair your car. Tajipanga. So the guy is like, yes, we can do this. We can sort you out. So there's that. So you find there's one copay. So utilization actually influences the premiums.
Thank you for that. That it's not just that we are just charging out of the blues. The claims history, the utilization impact, and all these things, how your habit of going to hospital, all this influences the cost of premiums, or either on your current premium cost or your renewal business.
It will be loaded.
Yes, we will load the premium.
Yes.
Okay. Ngatia, and lastly, maybe I know we've had a very good chat. We've talked about both cash in lieu and cash discussion. There's a discount when you're paying cash, and we are trying to drive insurance uptake here. My providers. How do you? Where do you think this will merge? Where as a member who's insured, I will also get benefits from coming to your garage and also coming to hospital compared to me coming with cash. Where does this merge as we conclude? And
also, in addition to that, Ngatia, we had Daktari leans on the German side of things. And now, for those of us who, other than service, and what tunapeleka tu hata tukai hapo inaservisiwa, then we go collect the vehicle, and we've only been in garages maybe twice when it was very new and city shuttle ilikuwa inapita na sisi. So you go and have some paint job done. And even speaking on behalf of women, okay, because sometimes when I see a light on I never know what's happening. At Landford, what do you have for us? Can we come? I know you invited us for a drink. You told us on Saturdays we can come and chill out. And I think that's an open invite. You need to even tell us where you are so that we can come. But Daktari talked of even patient education. Now, on this other side of now car owners, what do you do at Landford to also maybe just make us a little bit more aware so that we're not just Googling, we could just come, learn the basics, maybe even during like service teachers, this is what and what, this is what we are doing, so that, you know, how are you building that community?
Most ladies, kwanza, they don't want to get associated na gari kitengenezo, atakaa tu kwa ofisi. But we are very willing, you come, we teach you, kwanza, what is an oil filter. And what is a genuine oil filter looks like.
This is basics.
Nanzia na basics. An oil filter genuine nakaa hivi, because there is a lot of fake parts. And there's naua magari mingi sana. A genuine oil filter, air filter, oil inaekwa hapa, maji ya wiper inaekwa hapa. Pole pole to we take you step by step. Shock inakaa hivi, shock imekufa, looks like this. This is how our dead shocks look like in a operative. So some of them are very willing to learn. And if you're willing to learn, atusimamia hapo, tutakupeleka nawe pole pole mpaka tukiinua gari juu, naingia nawe chini, sio kulala.
To be
suspended. Naingia nawe na kuonesha vitu zenye ni basics. Then as you progress, ukikuja kwetu bado lessons ziko. Fike mahali mpaka sasa unajifanyia service, unaanza unajifanyia service at home. But it's very good for you to understand your car. And all cars, especially nowadays, all cars, even the Germans, Europe, Asians, zote principles are the same. They've made it very easy where if a sensor, kama ni crankshaft sensor, it will throw a certain code. And your code for Germans, for Europe, it's the same code. So nikikuja niweke gari yako diagnosis machine, it will give me a report. I will give you the report. Mostly not be able to understand. Kama vile tu umeenda MRI, umepigwa picha, na kwambia pande imekula na uone.
You don't even know what normal looks like.
So we will explain to you. Hii code inamaanisha hivi na hapa ndio pameharibika. Kama ni repairable, ta repair. Kama ni ya kubadilisha, tutabadilisha, and then we will educate you. We don't do shortcuts whatsoever. Fadhali nikwambie nimeshindwa na ni ngumu sana. Yes. Okay. Because the car itself is telling you this and this is what is wrong. For engines, tutatengeneza engine, take it apart, tukwambie this is what is. Ndio shida gari yako.
Daktari, last words on this conversation about insurance and us taking insurance vis-a-vis out-of-pocket
payments. Despite what I had said, actually, most providers are actually very pro-insurance, just because of the certainty and guarantee for payment. We rarely have insurance companies not paying or going out of business. The only one I can think of top of mind is Resolution Insurance a few years back. Walienda na do yetu kiasi, but tumewasamehea. So we encourage guys to get into insurance just because of the ability to be able to access healthcare services. That's quite important, because with your health, given the way we live nowadays and the way the lifestyle has changed, it's not very predictable. So you do want that guarantee that in case of anything, you can be sorted out. It is true when we look at the statistics, the largest cause for financial distress or even wiping out people's wealth is actually medical bills. So paying out of pocket does not make, a lot of sense for most people, just even given our affordability. Most people who are insured are via their employers. A bulk of them, I think around 90%. There are very few people who are on individual insurance. So for me, the message to probably the insurance company is on patient education. What are the benefits? What are the exclusions? Of course, there are certain exclusions I feel that need to be worked on. STA is an example. Mgonjwa kama ingine. I don't know why it's so special, but most insurance might not pay for that. But I think it's a discussion that is ongoing for historical reasons. There are some exclusions which have to do with cosmetics. Those are valid exclusions. Probably the other thing that I think maybe insurance should work on is affordability. Maybe come up with a scheme, no matter how limited. As providers, we will find ways to work on it, given that we have affordable options in terms of medications out there. For providers, there's a lot of work that we are doing to do the correct thing, be ethical. And of course, with a lot of oversight, which is helping us. Yes. Insurance is very important. I know people say, misi gonjekangi. I only sneeze half a year. Mtoto akirudi shule, nashikwa na homa. Na homa ijai kuua mtu. But me, I'd say pia COVID ni homa. And I mean, it's, a respiratory infection. So getting insurance will save you a lot of issues. It will help you have the flexibility to be taken care of without worrying about many things. So it is important. On a minimum, if, affording is a bit of a challenge, I'd say inpatient. On a minimum. Yes, that would safeguard a lot of stuff.
Thank you. That has been great. Thank you, our viewers, for joining us. We've had Ngatia and Dr. Peter here with us today. We have learned so much about the providers, our service providers within the insurance industry. Please feel free to ask questions following these episodes, and we look to be able to answer this in time. Thank you. My name is Malim Toto Mwanza.
And I am Charlene Kimara. You may call me Mama Bima Kenya. And until next time, stay insured.